Good morning, everybody. Here are the stars. Welcome to the show. Thanks to those of you who showed up to listen to me and KJ last night. And if you haven't already seen the show, it was a show to remember. We did come under some kind of spiritual attack on the show. A lot of thumbs down you'll see in the ratings for that show, which is not typical of KJ's live shows. But we do have a lot of haters here on YouTube. They hate this channel because I don't put up with any mess. Typically, people, if they come at us a certain way with certain negativity, they're just blocked. And so I'm sure a lot of those people exist over there and made their voice heard, even though the stuff we covered wasn't even that controversial. So I just wanted to give you a heads up so you understand what you're looking at when you get over there. And I appreciate all the new people that did come over here and subscribe to the channel. I see you. Welcome to the channel. You can say anything you want, just be nice. That's the only rule that we have. And don't attack other people. Again, you can state your opinion. Just do it in a nice way. And then we can all have a discussion about everything. And that's the way we run the channel over here. Now, during the show, we covered various topics on KJ's show last night. It was really interesting stuff. KJ was giving some new updates on what he's been working on, and of course, we covered a lot of the stuff that we were working on, so that was a lot of fun. So if you're new and you're here today, understand that we go live every single morning, almost at exactly the same time. Sometimes I'm late, but basically, if you show up here every single morning during the week, we don't really do a lot on the weekends, but during the week, this is where we all show up. We do live shows. A lot of our live shows are right around about 400 to 500 people watching, most of them. And then we had a couple of shows last week that went up well over 1,000 watching, so that was exciting. So there's plenty of interaction, there's plenty of encouragement in the chat, and so I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that. So for today's show, we did a couple of videos going back probably within the last 6 to 8 weeks, and these videos that we did were surrounding these two individuals, as you see in the thumbnail that you see on your screen and the left of your screen. The Tsarnaev brothers, as well as Peterson. We're not going to say their full names because YouTube algorithms, right? But basically, we had been covering these two individuals over the past 6 to 8 weeks, and something very creepy emerged surrounding their story. Well, Tsarnaev actually was able to shake death penalty, as well as Peterson. Both have been absolved of the death penalty, and we'll get into why this happened, but in terms of spiritual meaning, I don't know. God put us on the case, and before all this happened, and now we've got some kind of weird pattern emerging where they're starting to let these people off of the death penalty. I don't know why, and I'd be interested to hear your theories on why you think this might be. Now, why were we talking about the Tsarnaev brother who's been imprisoned for the Boston event? Well, we were talking about him because we were looking at the iPad Go 2, the scene where you see a woman holding the child and sitting in a seashell, and the woman's wearing a hijab, and we did this whole timeline, and we mapped out what that scene probably was representing. It's a loaded scene. It's got lots of nested meanings within it. One of those nested meanings is Mother Mary, baby Jesus, but of course they're showing us the dark side version of that. And that particular image of Mother Mary and baby Jesus, the dark side version, is actually a mosaic in the Hagia Sophia Mosque, which is in Turkey, Istanbul, Turkey, which just after we did that video, it hit the world stage because it was converted into a mosque from a museum, making a religious statement that sent shockwaves around the Orthodox Christian world. Okay. So this was all very interesting. Now, we had also talked about the Tsarnaev brother long before that, but just recently we did bring all that back up again. So then a few weeks after that, after we brought all this back up, we saw this story that the death penalty was overturned for him. It was just weird. It was bizarre. And this happens all the time for those of you that come on this channel. This happens quite frequently on this channel. We were talking about the satellite dish that's in Puerto Rico. We were talking about that, and then a few days later, some cables broke, or what we're told was some cables broke, and put a huge gash in it. So there's just a pattern of us talking about something, and then a few days or weeks later, something manifests surrounding the subject matter that we were talking about, which is just kind of bizarre. I just chalk it up to living in God's will and Him revealing things and trying to get people to wake up. I don't take personal credit for it. Oftentimes, a lot of this information comes from you guys. You guys are the ones who are saying, hey, can you look at this? Can you look at that? And then all of a sudden, a week later, something crazy happens. So, back to all this. So we got this death penalty overturned. And at the time, I was like, wow, that's really interesting. We were just talking about this. And the reason why he fits into all this is because in that image, in that scene of iPad Go 2, you'll notice that the child is being held by the mother. And when we mapped out what that scene was, it seemed to point to the Caucasus Mountains, where this family was from. And the boy was wrapped in these linens, which looked a lot like boxing tape, with a blackened eye. And his brother, the Tsarnaev brother, the one that died in police custody, he had a blackened eye because he was a boxer. And then the woman was crying these black tears. And when I looked up what black tears were, it was a song by an Australian band about a man that died in police custody. So that's the backdrop by which we started talking about these brothers and looking at the Caucasus Mountains and the purple, heliotrope purple that is derived from these seashells that exist only near the Black and Caspian Sea. On the shores of those seas, there's this very specific shell. It's called the Hexaplex trunculus. And they would take these seashells, grind them down, and derive this purple dye. And it takes like 12,000 of these shells just for 1 ounce of this purple dye. So this is a very royal type of dye. And this all comes from this region where this family's from. They also have Sufi Muslims there, which are the whirling dervish from that region as well, which we also saw on iPad Go 2. So there's all these nested truths and realities contained within iPad Go 2 that seem to point toward all of this manifesting the way it's supposed to manifest, I guess you can say. So then, just a couple days ago, I guess it was, another story popped up, and we're going to read these stories. Scott Peterson, too, his death sentence was overturned. So there's something weird going on. Now, we were just talking about Scott Peterson in a live show that we did probably, I want to say 2 months ago. We brought that back up. Why? Because this was in the news. Why was it in the news? Because they had done a raid on this house where there was this suspect for the Kristen Smart disappearance. Now, I looked and I cannot find that live show anywhere. If any of you can find the show, I might have deleted it. Maybe YouTube deleted it. I don't know. But I did go through this phase where I scrubbed a lot of the videos from both my channels because YouTube was on the hunt again, trying to shut channels down. So I did a scrub through, and I may have deleted it. But in that live show, we talked about that update on Kristen Smart, that they had thought that they found new evidence. And then we started talking. We were just talking. And we were talking about this whole Scott Peterson saga, because this man and his wife owned a restaurant called The Shack. And that was in San Luis Obispo. And this was during the years that I went to school there. I actually went to school with Scott Peterson. This man right here, I went to school with at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. We had a 1-year crossover. He was in the ag department. And I did have a best friend that was crop science. And so I probably crossed this man's path, and we were doing a lot of partying in those days. And apparently this is what he did too. So I'm sure I ran into this guy. He looked familiar when all this came out, but I can't say for sure that I ran into him. But then the reason why I brought all that up is because this is when Kristen Smart went missing, right around the time that he was at Cal Poly. And this is a very small area. For those of you that know about Cal Poly and the Central Coast of California, you'll understand this is a very small community. Most of the population of San Luis Obispo are students, probably about half, I think it is now. And so then we began to ponder and go, wow, I wonder if there was something going on, like some kind of ring, and maybe Peterson was involved. We start talking about his pro golf career and how he almost went pro, and he was connected with some very high individuals. So maybe this was his job, to collect these individuals. And like, who knows? I mean, the scenarios are endless. Long story short, this overlapped. His time at Cal Poly overlapped with the disappearance of Kristen Smart, which is still a mystery. Nobody knows where she is, and she's been gone for a very long time. And I was at the school at the very same time, and I rack my brain sometimes trying to think about what might have happened to this girl and if this man was involved. So we were just talking about this probably about 2 months ago, I want to say. And then here, lo and behold, this announcement just a few days ago that he is having the death sentence overturned. Now we're going to find out why in a second here. Check the chat to make sure we're connected up here. Appears as though we are. Welcome to the show, everybody, this morning. So, before we get into these articles, I want to quickly go over the timing of all this. This is crazy because July 30th was the Tsarnaev announcement, and Peterson's was on August 24th. They were 25 days apart, these announcements. They're just kind of creepy. And these were 7 and 17 years after the alleged crimes were committed. Okay, let's read about Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. Make this a little bit bigger. Won't be a long show today. We're going to be off of here probably in 15-20 minutes. And tomorrow's show, what are we doing tomorrow? Look through these here. Oh, tomorrow we're going to be looking at this technology that they announced in March, just after the national emergency was declared. It's called BIFs. And BIFs is this method of getting VCs out to millions and millions of people very rapidly and sterile. So we're going to go over BIFs. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, you guys. All right, so let's get back into this. So what's weird about the Tsarnaev brother is they won't release new images of him. There's no new images. If you look up his name, all the images are like really, really old from the time of the arrest. Like, is this person even real? Okay, is he really alive? This is weird. On Friday, a panel of 3 judges vacated the death sentence in the case of Tsarnaev, who has been on death row for 5 years. The court unanimously concluded that he did not receive a fair trial. Wow. A core promise of our criminal justice system is that even the very worst among us deserves to be fairly tried and lawfully punished. Okay, so he was 19 at the time of his crime. Okay, so there might be a clue. Everything's about 19 now, right? And 21 when he was sentenced. He was tried in Boston after his older brother, Tamerlan, set off these devices they're saying. Okay, I don't believe all this to be true, but this is what they're saying. And so basically, they got off on a technicality because it wasn't fairly treated. Unbelievable. No fair trial. Most of the potential jurors had some kind of connection to the event. Of course. Didn't everyone? Wasn't it like national news, right? One lived in the same neighborhood. So these are technicalities, and this smells fake to me. There's something going on with this. Now let's look into Scott Peterson and see why he got off. Scott Peterson's death sentence overturned 2004. Remember, these were 7 and 17 years after they happened. So there's this weird 7 thing as well. Supreme Court on Monday overturned the death penalty for Peterson. The court upheld Mr. Peterson's conviction, but it said that the trial judge had made mistakes that hindered his right to an impartial jury. Again, no impartial jury. Same exact scenario, two different people. We reject Peterson's claim and received an unfair trial as to guilt, thus affirmed his convictions. The court said Parks began to seek the penalty for Peterson in a new hearing. Now, before we pop off of here, we're going to look up these guys' birthdays, because that's always important in these cases, to examine these people's birthdays, because sometimes we get clues to what is going on almost every time we find something. October 24th, 72. See if these guys are somehow related numerically to one another. Pull up Tsarnaev. His name was Jokar. Oh. Okay, so we have the Joker, right? And that archetype always fits in to when we're referencing a Trump presidency, right? Trump is the Joker. So they got the Joker. See when he was born. I remember us briefly talking about his first name being Jokar and making references to that, but now it seems like it means so much more. He was born July 22nd, 93. So let's look up those dates and see when they fall. He's 27. Let's see how old Scott Peterson is. He is 47. So they're 20 years apart in age. I don't know what that could mean. 2020, I don't know. She was murdered in 2002. October 24th. Now, if you guys see any significance to these dates, go ahead and chime in the chat. I'll be in there in a second. We'll do a little bit of freestyle on the live show today and open up everything to a discussion, question and answer if you guys want. 297th day of the year, 68 days remaining. And let's look up Jokar's birthday, July 22nd. (203rd day of the year, 162 remaining. All right, so nothing really pops out for me with these dates, really, other than the fact that they're 20 years apart, almost to the day. I guess you could talk about the 27 Club, but he's not dead. He got out of death at the age of 27. And 7/22 is 27 backwards. So July 22nd, 7/22 is 27 backwards, which is his age. So that forms kind of a complete circle. If you think of things in terms of that, Peterson's 47, of course, and born in 72. Interesting. All right, let's go in the chat. We're just going to open this up to open discussion. I didn't want the show to be super long today. I just wanted a chance for all of us to get together and talk about all this stuff. Not numbers, but people and associates that matter. Yeah, able-bodied. Do you know of any associations of these people that we could talk about, maybe? Crazy how they use their own language against us. Yes, this is what they do. Everything is mirrors and inversions. A lot of times they'll spell words backwards. Redeemed by Us says SP 1916 mirror to Obama mirror year 1961. Maybe, yeah. Cheated death like Lazarus, says Feminazi Slayer. 25th October is UN birthday. Interesting. So the next day. Okay. 7/22, 74. 47 Biden VP. July 22nd is the Sirius star rising. Oh, wow. Okay, see, you guys are a lot smarter than me. That's why I love our channel. We all work together, and I try to listen to you guys as much as I can, but a lot of the information comes fast and furious, and I have to like go through it all. Sometimes I feel like I'm on autopilot. Look at Peterson's eyes, they're off. Sign of a psychopath. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if there was a deeper scenario that went down with Peterson. Like if there was some kind of ring going on and they just basically threw him under the bus. You know, this stuff really exists. It really happens. I wonder what would happen if Hillary did get in. Yeah, you know, that scenario is a very interesting one, Tansy. And there's no way that she would have been able to build a wall. There's no way that she would have probably been able to pull off this fake CV-19. You guys, there are patriots. I just got off the phone with a contractor in Arkansas, and I'll do a full reveal at some point of what I'm working on. But to make a long story short, I asked him, what's going on over there in Arkansas? And he said, nobody's wearing masks. Even though there's a governor mandate, nobody is wearing masks. He mentioned the Constitution. This was a concrete guy, you guys. He mentioned the Constitution. He said that no one is complying because it's our constitutional right not to comply. So I don't care what you're seeing on the news. I don't care what is going on. There are places that are not complying. And so that's a good thing, right? And the governors can put these mandates in all they want, but at the end of the day, it's, are you going to comply? Are there more people around you that are more leaning to the right? And that's the interesting thing. Even these people that are right-leaning, who you would think would love Trump and do what he would say to do, and go along with it, they're still not going along with it. People are starting to think for themselves. They're starting to think for themselves. They're not doing things because they're on the right or the left. They're doing things because of the Constitution. And that was really nice for me to hear. Jay says I'm in Arkansas and he's right. That's friggin' awesome. So, that's what's been going on. He hasn't been to Conway. There's plenty of people wearing masks there. Well, I'm sure there's pockets and places in probably the bigger cities, and that's why you don't want to live in the bigger cities. You want to live out in the outskirts, in the country, where people don't comply with this stuff. Melbourne zombies are mainly complying, says Tony. Yep. Well, there's a history behind Australia. It is under the crown. And the Queen has a lot of power. And Australia has been through a lot. Australia started out as a prison colony. And so there was always this atmosphere of total and complete control and domination. And they would use the fear of this prison colony to fear everyone into complying. It's much like the way New York is right now. Because of everything New York's been through, the governor in New York can get away with more extreme measures under the guise of protecting people, right? And people will give up rights to be protected. And so these are the places you don't want to live. Now that's about all I know about Australia. I'm sure there's more to the story, but this is my experience and knowledge of talking to the people that live in Australia. We have 2 crowns, says Tansy. Please expand on that. Okay. Uh-oh, chat stopped. Queen pays her worker minimum wage. Same goes for Canada. You know, Canada gets falls under a lot of draconian measures because the crown, you guys, the crown has a lot more power than you might imagine. Okay. It kind of flies under the radar, and you rarely hear England being part of the world stage, but they have a lot of power. They own a lot of territories. Don says Lacey born 5475 and died 12/24/02. Nimrod's birthday? Yeah, I mean, that's important. The Christmas day is Nimrod, Apollyon's birthday, Sol Invictus, all of the sun gods syncretize with December 25th. Where are you, Casey? I'm in Connecticut now. All right. Morning, Aaliyah. Good morning. Smilly Brown, Redeemed by Yah, Lisa. Good morning to everyone and all the new subscribers too. Welcome to the channel. Otis, Gina, able-bodied. Yeah, you know, we've talked a lot about these super soldiers, okay? And this goes back, I remember the most chilling footage that I've ever seen of a super soldier. This man was almost moving about in supersonic time and heightened sense of reality, almost interdimensional in this footage that I saw. And many of you will remember the event that happened in Dallas, where, I mean, there were reports, there were possible multiple people, but the footage that I saw was one guy who looked very capable in his technique and how he moved about through the urban landscape. He almost looked alien. And many of you will remember the footage that we slowed down and zoomed in on many times. There was I guess you can call it the overhang of a building with these large pillars. And there was a cop behind one of the pillars trying to head off the advancing super soldier, right? And he's standing behind a pillar, and the super soldier used this move, this technique that you only really see in video games. And he began to shoot towards the other side, one specific side of the pillar that the cop was taking cover under, which caused the cop to rotate to the other side of the pillar. And just as the cop rotated to the other side of the pillar, it's almost like the super soldier anticipated that and actually planned it. It's called the bait and switch. He baited the cop to the other side, and then the super soldier just scurried around to the other side where he knew the cop would be taking cover, backing off from the fire that was coming on one side, and he just loaded him up full of bullets. I mean, it was the most shocking thing I think I've ever seen. If you ever get a chance, you got to look at that footage again from what happened in Dallas about 4 years ago. It was where these guys were moving through the town. There were several officers down. That officer obviously died. And they're being controlled by something. There's something about the way that these people behave when we do catch them on camera that is out of this world. It's almost like an athlete, but in a military athlete. You know, like there's this new guy that's out. I guess he's really young, 18, 19, 20, somewhere in that range in the NBA, or he's not in the NBA yet, but he's going to probably be the #1 draft. LaMelo Ball is his name, which is funny because it sounds like melon balls, right? So that reminds me of when my kids were little, they'd only eat watermelon if I got one of those watermelon ballers and scooped it out in a nice little bowl of watermelon balls, right? So LaMelo Ball, if you haven't seen this child, gosh, can't even say kid anymore, right? Child sounds weird. Young man, let's call it. The footage of how this guy moves around the court, he is literally in another dimension. He's like a squirrel running around these people. Have you ever tried to catch a squirrel, or have you ever tried to catch a chicken? You can't do it. There's no way to do it unless you trick it. And this is what this LaMelo Ball is like. He's running around the court, but I want to give that an example because that's what these super soldiers appear like. They have superhuman speed, superhuman instincts, and there's something else controlling them. And I don't know what that is yet. There's plenty of theories behind super soldiers and how they're operated. But I believe many of these events that have happened over the years that we've all seen Upon closer inspection, they seem surreal, and I believe that these are rogue or planned people that are put on a mission, super soldiers, and that's why when you see them in custody, there's nothing behind the eyes. They have these blank eyes. It's because they've been controlled. Many of them have been given this orange or blonde or purple hair. Okay? And so that's what I think's going on. I don't know that, but we've been through a lot of these events, you guys. It's getting pretty crazy. Yes, Joffrey Lane. Maybe it was that one, or maybe it was another one. It was like 4 years ago. Just put in Dallas and the other word, and you'll see it pop right up. Yeah, LaMelo Ball, says Clint, like Bale. You always got to wonder. But this young man is supposed to be like, he's going to be the next Bryant or the next Michael Jordan, is what they're all saying. Okay, he's that good. Like, he just weaves in and out, superhuman passes, impossible shots. He's probably going to be the new savior of the NBA, right? Because the NBA is going through a lot of stuff right now because of this whole CV-19 and so everything's like balancing out. Yeah, kind of like Bucky from Winter Soldier, says Pam. Absolutely. From Captain America. Kind of like that. I mean, somebody in the truth community should do a montage. Maybe I'll do it. A montage of that clip and all the other super soldier clips of these superhuman people. And that would be a clip to remember, because then you would see it all side by side, everything together, and how it does not look natural or normal. All right. Oh, it's pronounced Jeffrey. Sorry about that. Oh, you're from Bridgeport. Oh, right on. About 10, 15 minutes away. Do you do any fishing? I think the striper is still up in the Hoosie. So, right on. What else do we got going on here? Dude is like LeBron at 17 years old. Crazy, unhuman-like highlight dunks. Oh, Zion Williamson. Oh, really? Okay. Wow, and the word Zion. Really? Like, right? So you got Bale versus Zion. Whoa, that's creepy. Right? Because Zion is the name actually given to the Ark of the Covenant in the Kebra Nagast Ethiopian scripture. So that would be like the god, and then Baal would be like the devil version. Do you see how they spiritually set all this up? These contests. And it all goes back to the Bible. Have you ever watched the show Fringe? Oh, absolutely. I need to take probably another look at that. That's one of those shows that is so in your face, it almost doesn't need decoding. And those happen, you know? Those happen often, actually. It's so in your face, you don't even need to decode it. It's just, it is what it is, right? Shape-shifting melodies talking about NBA boycott virtual fans. Yeah, I mean, the concept of that is just ridiculous. There's a little park that I go down. I've been trying to play basketball like every single day in the mornings. Just because, you guys, I'm 47 years old. I know I don't sound it. I used to run up and down the court as recently as 10 years ago, full court basketball. And I was like, man, I'm kind of stiff. And so I started playing basketball every single day during the week. Just after my show, today it's raining, I'm not going to be able to play, but normally just after my show, I run down to this court and there's nobody out there. And I run up and down the court and I play just by myself for about 20 minutes, half an hour. It's great exercise. I encourage any of you that are on the computer a lot, you got to get daily exercise. You're going to thank me 5 years from now. Your health will improve. Your body you really need to sweat every single day. Okay, if you're not sweating every single day, you're going to get sick eventually. So trust me. And if you're feeling a little stiff, just stay at it. All it takes is 15-20 minutes a day. You don't have to go to a gym. You could just jog in place. Get out of the bed, get off the computer, jog in place. Go to a basketball court, outdoor basketball court while the weather's still nice. Throw up a basketball. And you run into some interesting characters out there. And I ran into a guy, and we played 21. And he goes, "Oh, what do you think about the NBA? That was a good game." And I'm looking at him going, that's a virtual game. And so, I don't know. I guess some people are into the virtual NBA and some people aren't. I just think the whole thing is just ridiculous. I mean, really? Like, no crowds, no spectators anymore? These guys still make the same amount of money? So, I don't even know why we brought all that up, but you got to get out and get some exercise. You're gonna thank me for it, okay? Every day you should be breaking a sweat. And if you can do that, it does a couple things. I mean, talk about a virus not being able to survive. Your body temperature goes up and you sweat. You literally sweat this stuff out. It can't survive inside your body. So you need to have exercise. And I don't know why the World Health Organization and all these, these bureaucrats aren't talking about this. Just general health. Why isn't that part of their message? So, I don't know. I feel like that needs to happen. It needs to be said more and more. You got to eat better. You got to get some exercise. Try to sweat every single day. You can't just live off the computer, So, yeah, it makes you feel good. And it might not feel good in the first 2 or 3 weeks you do it. Like, I'm still sore. I'm sore every single day. And I'm like, man, it never used to be like this. I guess I was a little bit out of shape. And now it's starting to feel a little bit better, like definition's coming back to my legs, and I'm able to run up and down the court, and I feel much better. And I just wanted to share that with you, that you can feel much better too. Just tell yourself every single morning you're going to go out and you're going to spend 20 minutes sweating. And if you can do that, you don't have to run 5 miles. You don't have to do any of that. It doesn't have to go from 0 to 100 miles an hour. Just get out and start moving your body, okay? And you're going to feel better, because we need you. We need you in the fight. We need you guys healthy. We need you guys sharp. And it's going to help your brain power as well. It's going to help your spiritual life. All Jesus and the disciples did was walk around. They just walked miles and miles and miles. They didn't even know they were walking. Just walking from town to town. Great exercise. And then they rest, and he would talk to everybody. Heal. Right? So, wow, Karen's in Connecticut too, in Naugatuck. Yeah, I fished the Naugatuck River a bunch of times, and then I heard there was that sewage plant, and that they had released a bunch of stuff. And then I got creeped out, because they do stock that river with trout. And in fact, I have some fishing videos on Interstars Reloaded of me fishing the Naugatuck. So I just kind of got out of fishing. Then I started focusing on the sound. I do fish with a subscriber named Brad Condon. You can see a link to his video, his channel on the front of my channel. He brings his boat down from New Hampshire, and we fish in the Sound every so often, but it's hard for him to get down here. And the Sound is a lot of fun. I guess the fish are a little bit cleaner. But hey, all of you guys that are from Connecticut, you got to go onto my community page, and there's a phone number where you can call. I think it's a representative, to end the national or the state emergency. Okay, you got to do that. And the more calls they get, they won't be able to renew the state of emergency, and then we can all have our lives back, right? Because those of you that live in Connecticut, you understand that when you go in the stores, it's like you're in Leftville. Okay, I mean, people are like, you have to wear your mask, right? That's what it's like here in Connecticut. Not like that in other parts of the country, but here it is. And so everyone's here in Connecticut is ordering their food. They're having people deliver food to their houses, or they just brave the stores, but it's like almost 100% compliance. And so probably because we're so close to New York, that's probably why everyone's complying. Which is why eventually, we're not going to stay here for very long. So because it's only going to get worse, you know, because when you're near these big cities, this is what is up. And so Redeem My Yaw says you got to share your backup channel. Then you don't know. Yeah, I have my other channel is Enter the Stars Reloaded. That's where we were doing most of our work for many years. And then they pretty much like wiped that channel out. So here we are, Enter the Stars. There's a couple other backup channels that you guys should subscribe to. They're all in the front of my page here. Just click on each of them and subscribe, because we need to have all the channels we can get. Look what happened to High Impact Flicks. They took down his channel, and he scrubbed the other channel, I think, to save it. He's only got one channel left, and that's High Impact TV. So he went from 500,000 subscribers to 20,000 subscribers, and so that can happen overnight. So any YouTube channel that you like listening to, the first thing you should do is subscribe to all their channels. Okay? Now, I'm not going to spam you guys. Back when I was building my channels, I would duplicate upload, but I don't do that anymore. Okay? I put all my eggs in one basket. I basically only upload to one channel. So don't worry about feeling like you're getting spammed with videos. That's not gonna happen here. So as soon as you leave the show, go on the front page of this channel, and you'll see all the channels linked there, and subscribe to them. So, all right. Right, why doesn't he fire those people? Facial and Burka, we're gonna call them. Facial and Burks. Ablebody, can I send you something? I don't really have a mailing address, Ablebody, but I appreciate that. But in links to anything else, you can send, like, there's a PayPal if you want to send a PayPal. That's all linked in the description of the videos. Well, yeah, we're not, unless you have proof. The shill word is not allowed on this channel. So there's your warning. Okay. You can't just throw out that word. That works right into the right-left paradigm. When you throw out that word with no proof, you just become part of the problem. Can you decode Batman Begins? Which one's that, Jeffrey? Which one is that? Is that the one with the Joker as Jack Nicholson? Batman Begins. All right. Now here's the insidious part about these mandatory masks and the people that don't really want to wear them, okay? Which is like all of us on this channel. These elite are very evil, and just the way they do things to where it pits us against each other, right? Because this is what's happened. I don't know about you guys, but I'm down to a minimalism. I do not go into a store unless I absolutely have to. So what does that do to the economy? What does that do to the small businesses that do need to stay afloat based on you spending money in their businesses? Well, it hurts them, doesn't it? So they make you choose. So yeah, I don't want to wear a mask, but then in the back of your mind, you're going, wow, okay, well, now that's hurting the economy. But that's all by design. They've done that on purpose, so that any choice that you make is a choice that's going to hurt somebody. But I encourage you guys to stand your ground. And that's what the decision I've made. I'll eat less if I have to, just to not be seen in public with a mask. I just won't do it. Now, I'll admit there has been a handful of times where I have done it, and I just hated myself afterwards. But there are those situations where there's no way out. Like if someone you know is sick and you have to go take them to the hospital or something. I mean, what are you going to do? Not go? So these are the things that we deal with, right? We have to make choices. Judith's in Rhode Island. Right on. Shout outs to Judith. I know the masks aren't mandatory. Ultra K, you're absolutely right. But here's what happens. When you go, just expect that there's going to be a confrontation. So what does that do? That makes you only want to go when you have to, right? Because you want to minimize the confrontation. Nobody wants to have a struggle or a fight every time they go into a store, or a worry. Okay, that you're not going to be able to get the food you need. So it's all the stress levels that are just out there. And so there are situations where you're just going to put it on, and hopefully that can be close to 0 times. And I'll never just blanket comply. I just won't do it. I just won't. So people get sucked into the division. Absolutely, Susan. That's a very, very important point. And that's what we have to try our best not to get sucked into. So even if you choose to not wear a mask and stand by that and accept the confrontation that you're gonna get, don't feed into the confrontation. Don't shout back at someone. Don't make this a Trump issue. Don't say, oh yeah, I'm doing this because of Trump, because you're just feeding into that division. That's what you're doing. Do it because you want to do it, not because you're on a side, okay? And if we can all talk about that and realize that and try to live by that, then the walls start to come down, because then the person standing next to you might be a Democrat who just chooses not to wear a mask. And then you can start talking with each other, okay? Because why? Because we need to start bridging this divide. They've blown the bridges, you guys. They've blown the bridges. That's what the blown bridges means. In Escape from New York, where the bridge is mined, they've blown the bridges between people to build a wall between each and every one of us. In the bridge blown in I Am Legend, to quarantine all the people on Manhattan Island, they've separated people from one another. Remember, Will Smith gets separated from his family. And in Dark Knight Rises, they blew the bridges. That's all of us. And we are now in a heightened sense of division amongst each other because of CV-19. They've created all of these paradigms and scenarios to split us from one another based on our belief system. The best thing you can do is not make this about a president or a political statement. Make it about a human statement. Bridge the gap. That's the only way we're going to survive this, you guys. Don't give in to the blown bridges. I love each and every one of you. I'm going to end the show now. Have a great day. Get some exercise. Go shoot some baskets or swim or, I don't know, whatever. Take care and be safe. Much love.